Hey love bugs! So welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your spring break staycation at home. I hope it was relaxing. I hope you enjoyed some time with your family, got to do something fun at home. So I know normally on our day back from spring break, we would be gathering and chatting and catching up. So I'm hoping that you have a chance to let me know what you did during your spring break. If you did anything fun, if you played any games, if you learned how to cook a new recipe, something fun that you did, I hope you share it with me on Google Classroom. Or remember, you can always email me. So I know both my class and Mr. Hines' class are watching this video, so that goes for both of your classes. So my kiddos especially, please let me know what you did over your staycation spring break. But that goes for Mr. Hines' kiddos too. Let me know and let Mr. Hines know what you guys did over your spring break staycation. So jumping right back into reading. So as I told you before spring break is that we're going into our historical fiction unit. So we already talked about what historical fiction means and how we're reading fiction books, so things that were made up. So people who are not real. But these stories that are not real are taking place in very real historical time periods in the United States. So we're going to be looking at a lot of different time periods. You might be reading about a different time period than the book we're reading about. So as we go through this unit, you'll learn a little bit more about that time period as well. So what we're going to do today is you're going to watch this lovely video of me teaching you. You're going to read some of your independent book on Epic. So you should have already read some of that last week, so you should know what book you're reading, and you should have read some of that. So you're going to read a little bit more of that book today, and then you're going to meet with your book clubs. So this is a historical fiction book club unit. So if we were in school, you would be in book clubs with different books, meeting about your club and talking about your books just like we would do normally. And you would have those bookmarks with the dates and how many pages you should be reading. So we're going to try to do a virtual book club. So I'm super excited for that. So for today, we're going to continue some of that work we were doing last week. So a historical fiction reader kind of puts all of the pieces together. So the who, what, where, when, why, how, and what's really happening in the book. So remember, it's always good to stop, maybe after every section, after every chapter, after something crazy exciting happens, a big event happens, just to stop and kind of think about what happened so far. So what happened in this chapter? What happened in this section? Has anything important happened to my character? How does my character feel? Has anything changed? All those reading skills that we've been working on all year. You always remember to stop and think about some of those. So I know we're reading The Babe and I together. So I know we posted a YouTube video of the book being read aloud to you, but I'm just going to read the first part of it today, just so that we can think about some of these questions that I have listed right here while I read the first part to you. So I don't have the physical picture book to show you, but I do have the words of it all marked up, like a good reader does. So I'm going to read you the first part, and while I read you the first part, stop and think, what's happening in this part of the book? What is happening in this section? What's important is happening? What are my characters feeling? So we talked about last week who our characters are. So let me show you the next slide first. So who our characters are. Our characters so far are the narrator, Jacob, and Dad. So let's think about them, and let's think about who they are and who they're becoming, what's happening to them. The Babe and I. For my birthday, I was hoping my parents would give me a bicycle. They only gave me a dime. I was disappointed but not surprised. It was 1932, in the midst of the Great Depression, and millions of people were out of work. We were lucky. My father had a job, but we never seemed to have much money. Where we lived in the Bronx, New York, everyone was poor. "Happy birthday," Dad said when I walked him outside. I watched him go off, carrying his briefcase and smiling. My neighbor Jacob was tossing a ball and catching it. He threw it to me and shouted, "Give me a high one. I'm Babe Ruth, the world's greatest baseball player." I threw the ball and Jacob reached out. It bounced out of his hands. He was no Babe Ruth. We played for a while, and then Jacob said, "I have to go to work. Come with me. We can have a catch while we walk." A few blocks from home we passed a woman selling apples. Her clothes were wrinkled and shabby. I gave her my birthday dime and bought 2 apples, one for me and one for Jacob. I was glad to be rid of the dime. It reminded me of the present I didn't get. We turned onto Webster Avenue, and there were more apple sellers. Near the next corner I saw a large briefcase. I looked up, and there was Dad, selling apples like the others. Suddenly, I couldn't move. "Come on," Jacob said. I pointed. "Oh," he whispered. "I thought your dad had a job." "So did I. And Mom thinks so too." So, that was just the first part of our book. That was the first part of the Babe and I read aloud together. So let's think about some of those questions. What happened in this chapter? So I think a couple big things happened in this chapter. So our narrator celebrated his birthday. And I think this part had one of the biggest events, maybe, is that we found out that the narrator's dad, who we thought had a job, does not have a job. So that seems something that's important, that's going to be important to the rest of my story. So I'm going to hold that into my brain. So how does my character feel? So there's a couple different characters that are feeling a couple different things. The narrator seems, at first he was really disappointed in his present, but he understood and he seemed okay. He seemed to be a little chipper as he was walking down with his friend playing catch. And then I think that big event of finding out that his dad doesn't have a job kind of knocked him down a few pegs again. And I think he's feeling really disappointed and confused. He's probably feeling really confused because right before that, Dad had his briefcase ready to go off to work. And then he finds his dad selling apples on the street, which during this time, people who didn't have jobs would sell apples and sell things on the streets to try to make money to support their families. So the job that the narrator's dad has been going to does not exist. So hopefully we'll find out what happened. So like we said before spring break, we talked about the setting. We know it's during the Great Depression, where a lot of people, the majority of the United States, were out of work and did not have jobs, and definitely did not have a lot of money. So there's a time of a lot of struggles. We know what's happening in New York, so that's super familiar for us because it's in our area. So those important events we just talked about. And our characters, who our characters are, is our narrator, who was sad about his birthday, so far is a pretty good friend, is kind and thoughtful, and definitely loves his family. And you see that in a lot of his actions. And Jacob, who's also hardworking and loves his family because he's going to work to probably support some of his family with money. And we know about Dad a little bit. We know Dad cares about his family a lot because he's put it on this show that he's going to work and he's still making some money selling apples and working hard to support his family. But he's also really ashamed because he's lying. He's lying about having a job, probably because he's embarrassed. So we're still thinking about that who, what, where, when, why as we read. So what you're going to do today with that information that you're doing in your book with the who, what, where, when, and why, and those questions that you're thinking, is you're going to meet in your book clubs, like I said before. So on this last slide, so just as we'd be in school and people were reading different books, people are reading different books now. So on this slide is a link to your book club meeting. So depending on whatever book you're reading, so I'm just going to choose Just Call Me Jo. So I'm going to click this link where it says book club meeting, and this URL is going to pop up. It's going to take me to a Padlet. So I'm going to click on that URL, and this Padlet's going to come up. You're only seeing a part of the page because my screen's only showing you a part of the page, but you're seeing the important part. So once you click that link, you're going to see a page that says Just Call Me Jo Book Club, and you're going to see my question. So my question reads, who, what, where, when? My question says, so far, what is Just Call Me Jo all about? Who are the characters? When does it take place? What is happening? What do you think about the book? So you can answer it here. So you see where it says add comment. You can add it here. Hello. You can like my question, but definitely respond somehow. So you can either respond to my question here, or in the bottom right hand corner you'll see a plus sign, and if you click that you'll be able to make your own post with your own thoughts about your book. So this is the place where you're meeting with your book club. Here is where you're discussing the book. So you can talk about what you think so far, what you think of the characters, what you think about the time period, some predictions you might have, some connections you might make from your own life in the book, some connections that remind you of a different book we've read this year. So anything you're really thinking about this book, some words you were confused about, some scenes that you thought were crazy, something you thought was funny, anything you're thinking about the book. This is where you're going to post it, and you're able to talk to each other through this, and you're able to comment on each other's posts, and kind of mimic what a real book club conversation would be like in school. So I hope this works. I'm excited to pop in and conversate with you guys as well. So both my class and Mr. Hines' class are going to be using the same book club meetings. So we'll both be popping in to kind of comment and ask some questions on here at certain times. So you get to talk with a lot of different kids about these books. And I think it's going to be really fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I hope all this makes sense. If not, please ask us questions. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go read some of your book on Epic. Once you've read for about 15-20 minutes, you're going to come back here and you're going to respond to my post or write your own post. Good luck, happy reading, and see you here tomorrow.